Get this. Have you all heard of the controversy at USC? The USC mascot is the Trojans, which some might say is a condom. But actually a Trojan is a soldier. Well, the Trojan mascot at USC football games rides a white horse. Do you know the name of the white horse? Traditionally, whatever the horse is, there have been a bunch of horses over the many generations that the Trojan has ridden the horse. It's required a lot of horses. It's always a white horse. The horse's name is Traveler. Well, guess who else's horse was named Traveler? Take a wild guess. Robert E. Lee. Exactly right. Robert E. Lee's horse was named Traveler. The difference is that Robert E. Lee spelled Traveler with 2 L's. And USC spells Traveler with 1 L. Guess what? Brent Musburger, formerly of CBS, then formerly of ABC, and formerly of ESPN, in an interview, Brent Musburger said he's very upset to learn this. I'm very upset. There's a move afoot to change the name of the horse from Traveler because Robert E. Lee's horse was named Traveler. Musburger said, you can't have that. He went on to say that he would withhold his Heisman vote from the USC star quarterback Sam Darnold if the school ended up changing Traveler's name, even though Darnold is his early Heisman favorite. He said, if they mess around with my horse, I'm off him. I've got to vote. I will not vote for Darnold if they change the name of the horse. So actually, Musburger is standing up, going against the tide, claiming it would be silly to change the name of the horse simply because Robert E. Lee's horse was the same name. A profile in courage. How long is Musburger going to last here before his buddies in the leftist sports drive-bys get hold of him? When I first read this, the way the headlines read, it's very confusing that Musburger was upset that white supremacy had been going on at USC all this time and he didn't know about it. But which would have made perfect sense. I would have totally believed it. USC horse is white like Robert E. Lee's horse was. The horses' names are not spelled the same. Robert E. Lee had 2 L's in Traveler, and the USC Trojan horse has 1 L. And again, Musburger, I'm very upset. There's a move afoot to change the name of the horse from Traveler because Robert E. Lee's horse was named. You can't do that. You can't have that. So how will the sports world decide to punish Brent Musburger for his racism? We'll wait and see. Salon.com. I saw the tweet. Hang on a minute, folks. I have to deal with one of my screen servers here. There we go. I saw the tweet last night. Salon.com. I predicted this the week before I went on vacation. I said, where do these national anthem protests naturally end up? You get rid of the anthem. That's the way to solve the problem. That's what the left will say. I said, you get rid of the anthem. The anthem is the problem. The anthem and the flag are why Kaepernick's protesting, not because Kaepernick's a bad guy. And this country's not worth the anthem, and this country's not worth the flag. And Salat.com tweeted last night that the United States has a neo-Confederate national anthem. Jefferson Morley is the writer at Salon, contended the U.S. adopted the Star-Spangled Banner as its national anthem due to an ascendant neo-Confederate spirit during the decades after the Civil War. He then played up that observing Memorial Day and singing the Star-Spangled Banner are uncontroversial patriotic gestures, yet there's no disputing that neo-Confederates developed these rituals. In other words, white racists are responsible for the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, and the flag, and because white racists, neo-Confederates. By the way, for those of you not familiar with political lingo, neo-Confederate would simply mean sort of like the self-styled Confederates at the end of the Civil War and for years going forward. New Confederates modifying themselves in admiration of the Confederacy. So it's white supremacists who wrote the national anthem, Francis Scott Key, the Star-Spangled Banner, and the flag. And for that reason, we need to get rid of both. And while it's funny, and while it's off the wall, and while it's crazy, folks, these people are serious. And whenever anybody on the left comes up with one of these cockamamie ideas, the rest of them go right along with it, and it's going to be mainstream media before long. You're going to see panel discussions on TV debating whether or not the Star-Spangled Banner is inspired by slavery. And was the American flag inspired by people who were neo-Confederates? You're going to see it debated. And, of course, you're going to have people on CNN, oh, yes, it's about time we're getting to the truth of this. The effort to not just transform, the effort to finally destroy this country as founded is in full swing and is not taking any time off because of this hurricane. So I checked the email during the break. Some people think I'm making this Star-Spangled Banner stuff up. And the reason they think so, Rush, the Star-Spangled Banner was written in 1812. That's so much before the Civil War that there's no way Francis Scott Key could have been a racist. And the point here in Ceylon is not that the Star-Spangled Banner was written after or during the Civil War. It's when it was adopted as the national anthem. Again, here, the Salon.com writer is a guy named Jefferson Morley. I wonder if he's going to change his name. You know, Thomas Jefferson, slave owner, and here's this guy at Salon carrying a similar name, Jefferson. It's got to be embarrassing, wouldn't you think? Jefferson Morley. Anyway, he wrote a book about Francis Scott Key. He emphasized the Star-Spangled Banner has lyrics that deride black people who took up arms to gain their freedom in the War of 1812, and that it became a point of pride for Southerners. However, there is a debate among historians over the intentions of the lyrics in question, which show up the rarely sung third stanza. And they point out that Francis Scott Key was a slave owner, and that fact alone should disqualify anything he wrote from being adopted as the national anthem. Folks, they are serious about this. I also, last night, or was it, I guess it was the night, but whenever the Berkeley rally was, the Antifa people were chanting at the Berkeley rally. They were protesting nothing. They set it up as a protest against a bunch of neo-Nazis and right-wingers, and none of them showed up. This was simply a protest, and there was violence, and there was hatred, and there were very many events where heads got bashed, and it was the left that did this. And all I could think of was Gary Cohn, Trump's economic advisor, who disagreed with Trump on his characterization as good people on both sides. He said, you can't draw a comparison between people who are standing up for freedom and equality versus these neo-Nazis. And Antifa is not about freedom or equality. No leftist bunch of people is. These are a bunch of Linskyites when you get right down to it. They're not about freedom, and they're not about liberty, and they aren't about equality whatsoever. These people are the problem, and the people like Gary Cohn don't see it is what is the problem here. And these Antifa people were chanting, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. These are the people that the media is defending as they attack Trump. You know, Trump's out there saying, hey, that side on the left, they had some bad actors in there, too. There's a bunch of it to go around, and the media would have had a cow. And just like Gary Cohn, Trump's economic advisor, said, no, those are people standing up for equality and freedom, and you can't draw a distinction. You cannot say that the people on the right of the... totally misses the point. It's the people on the left who are using violence to deny equality, specifically equality, and specifically freedom. And their chant, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. Now, you can say, Russia, it's a small band of people. It's just typical left-wingers protesting. They've been around since the 60s. It isn't going to matter. Don't look at it that way. What was happening in the 60s is largely what's gone wrong with our country today. Those people now are in positions of power and have been for too long. Here's a little bit of the mob, the Antifa mob, Sunday in Berkeley.
No Trump, no wall, no USA at all. No Trump, no wall, no USA at all. No Trump, no wall, no USA at all.
That's this peaceful, loving bunch of people, equality and fairness.